Welcome back to the Flagstone Trail Deep Dive on the 48 Laws of Power.
Yeah,
You wanted to explore how these laws can be applied in your work and life.
absolutely.
So today we're tackling a really interesting one.
Yes.
Law 17.
Okay.
Keep others in suspended terror. Cultivate an air of unpredictability.
Yeah. This law is all about, leveraging the human need for predictability, right? We feel safe and in control when we can kind of anticipate what's coming next. And this law kind of teaches us to disrupt that expectation and use it to our advantage.
So shaking things up,
Mhm.
keep people on their toes a little bit.
Yeah.
I could see how that could be powerful,
Yeah.
but also seems a bit risky.
It can be for sure. And that's why, really understanding the nuances of this law is crucial to really grasp its power. I think let's look at this historical example that Robert Greene uses. The 1972 World Chess Championship between Boris Spassky and Bobby Fischer.
Ah, yes.
Yeah.
The match of the century.
Match of the century.
I remember hearing about this. It was more than just a chess match, right?
Exactly.
It was a Cold War showdown.
Yeah. Yeah. The tension was immense, surrounding this match with the world watching as the Soviet Union's Spassky, the reigning world champion, faced off against the American challenger, Bobby Fischer.
And Fischer was known for being a bit, well, eccentric.
Yeah, that's putting it mildly.
Right.
Fischer was brilliant, but he was also notorious for his erratic behavior,
Right.
Leading up to the match, he made outlandish demands, constantly changed his mind, showed up late, and even forfeited games.
It sounds like he was intentionally trying to mess with Spassky's head.
Yeah, precisely. While some saw it as madness, Fischer's behavior was a calculated tactic to unsettle his opponent.
Okay.
Spassky, known for his composure, really started to unravel under this pressure of Fischer's unpredictability.
Can you give me some examples?
Yeah.
What was he doing that was so unsettling?
Spassky became so paranoid that he accused Fischer's team of hypnotizing him,
Really?
even claiming that his orange juice was drugged and his chair had been tampered with.
Wow, that's incredible. So Fischer's unpredictable actions completely threw Spassky off his game.
Absolutely, Spassky. He couldn't anticipate Fischer's moves, and that just constant uncertainty gnawed at him, ultimately contributing to his defeat. It's a perfect example of how disrupting patterns, breaking expectations, can give you a psychological edge.
It's like in boxing. If you're a fighter and you suddenly switch stances mid-fight,
Yeah.
it throws off their opponent's timing and leaves them vulnerable.
That's a great analogy. And what's important to remember is that this principle isn't just for chess grandmasters or world champions.
Right.
The power of unpredictability can be harnessed by anyone, regardless of their position.
So how can we in our everyday lives use this law effectively?
Yeah.
Say in the workplace, for example.
Well, imagine you're in a negotiation.
Okay.
If you always follow the same script,
Yeah.
make the same concessions, your opponent will quickly learn your patterns and use that to their advantage. But if you're willing to break from the script,
Right.
introduce an unexpected move, change your approach, you keep them guessing.
Okay.
You regain control.
So it's not about being unpredictable just for the sake of it. It's about being more strategic,
Exactly.
using it as a tool to achieve a specific goal.
Exactly. It's about being adaptable, willing to step outside your comfort zone and break from your usual patterns when the situation calls for it.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm also thinking, though, isn't there a risk
Yeah.
that being too unpredictable could backfire?
Yeah.
Could it make people think you're unreliable or erratic?
That's a great point. And it brings us to one of the most fascinating aspects of this law is its inherent duality. While unpredictability can be a powerful tool, especially for leaders, it can also be a double-edged sword, particularly for those in subordinate positions. You see, in a leadership role, a degree of unpredictability can project an aura of power and authority.
Right.
It keeps people on their toes, makes them think twice before challenging you.
Like that saying, keep them guessing.
Precisely. But if you're in a subordinate position, too much unpredictability can be perceived very negatively.
Okay.
It might make you seem unreliable or even unstable.
So context matters.
Yeah.
A lot.
A lot.
How do you know when and how much unpredictability is the right amount?
Well, it comes down to reading the room, so to speak. You need to be aware of your position within the company's hierarchy, your relationship with your colleagues, and the overall company culture.
So observe,
Yes.
assess.
And then make your move.
Exactly. But, this focus on unpredictability, I think, makes sense. But Green also highlights how it's opposite.
Okay.
Being predictable can be used to your advantage.
Really?
Yeah.
How does that work?
Think of it as a carefully constructed illusion.
Oh.
By establishing a predictable pattern of behavior. You can lull people into a false sense of security.
Right.
They think they know you. They can anticipate your next move.
Yeah.
And then when the stakes are high, you break the pattern.
Okay.
The element of surprise can be a game changer. Oh, like setting a trap.
Exactly.
Okay, I see where you're going with this.
Yeah.
Robert Greene uses the example of Muhammad Ali's fighting style against George Foreman in the Rumble in the Jungle to illustrate this.
Yeah, that fight is a classic example. Everyone expected Ali to, dance around Foreman, tire him out, just like he'd done with so many other opponents. That was his signature rope-a-dope style. But against Foreman, Ali did the unthinkable.
I'm guessing he didn't dance around.
Not at all. He went toe-to-toe with Foreman, absorbing those powerful punches, leaning against the ropes. Seemingly letting Foreman exhaust himself? It was a calculated gamble, a complete reversal of his usual tactics.
That took guts, and it worked.
Spectacularly, Foreman used to... opponents fleeing his punches, punched himself out, trying to knock Ali down.
Oh, wow.
And then in the 8th round, Ali seized his moment, unleashing a flurry of punches that sent Foreman crashing to the canvas.
Talk about turning the tables. So the takeaway here is that unpredictability isn't about being erratic or random. It's about being strategic.
Strategic.
Understanding when to conform to expectations and when to shatter them.
Precisely. It's about mastering the art of surprise. But like any powerful tool, it requires careful consideration and timing. It's not about being unpredictable all the time. It's about knowing when to break the pattern to achieve a specific goal.
That's a great point. So in a way, both unpredictability and predictability can be powerful.
Absolutely.
Depending on how they're used.
The key is to be adaptable, flexible, and able to shift gears when needed. It's about reading the situation and choosing the approach that gives you the best advantage.
So if I'm understanding correctly, this isn't just about outsmarting other people.
Right.
In a manipulative way.
No.
It's more about just being a savvy player in the game of life.
Yeah.
Understanding the unwritten rules and using them to your advantage.
That's an excellent way to put it. It's about taking control of your narrative, shaping how others perceive you, and ultimately influencing their behavior.
Okay, so we talked a lot about the theory behind Law 17. We've looked at some really fascinating examples from history and sports.
Yeah.
But what does this all mean for our listeners?
Yeah.
How can they actually apply this law in their own lives without, becoming completely unpredictable overnight?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And it's important to remember that cultivating an air of unpredictability doesn't require, drastic measures. You don't need to reinvent yourself or start acting erratically.
Right.
The key is to start small.
Okay.
To make subtle shifts in your behavior that disrupt people's expectations without raising red flags.
Give me an example.
Okay.
What's something small that someone could try?
Let's say you're in a meeting at work.
Okay.
And you're always the first person to jump in with an opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Try holding back for once.
Okay.
Listen to what others have to say. Observe the dynamics at play.
Right.
And then offer your insights when you sense the moment is right. It might not seem like a big deal, but that shift in your usual pattern can make people take notice. It shows that you're not always predictable, that you're thinking strategically, and that you're willing to break from the script.
That's a good point. It's about choosing your moments. What are some other ways we can apply this law in the workplace?
Well, consider how you approach problem solving.
Okay.
If you typically stick to a tried and true method, try branching out, experimenting with a new approach.
Okay.
It shows you're not afraid to think outside the box and can lead to unexpected breakthroughs.
So I'm hearing that cultivating an air of unpredictability is about more than just specific actions.
Right.
It's about cultivating a mindset of adaptability and strategic thinking.
You're absolutely right. And this mindset can be beneficial in your personal life as well.
Oh, interesting. How so?
Think about your relationships with friends and family.
Okay.
If you tend to fall into predictable routines, try surprising them with a thoughtful gesture or an unexpected outing. It doesn't have to be anything grand.
Right.
Just something that breaks the monotony and shows them you're thinking about them in a new way.
I love that. It's like injecting a little bit of excitement and spontaneity
Exactly.
into your everyday interactions.
Small, unexpected actions can often have the most significant impact.
It strikes me that there's a bit of a paradox here.
Yeah.
We're talking about being unpredictable.
Right.
But to do that effectively, we need to be strategic,
Yes.
almost calculating. It's like we need to plan our spontaneity.
That's a very astute observation. There is a certain level of intentionality involved in mastering this law.
Okay.
The key is to strike a balance. You don't want to become so fixated on being unpredictable that you lose sight of your goals or alienate the people around you. The goal isn't unpredictability for its own sake, but rather using it as a tool to navigate the complexities of work and life more effectively.
So to sum it all up, cultivating an air of unpredictability is about being adaptable, strategic, and mindful of the context. It's about understanding when to play by the rules and when to break them, all while keeping your goals in sight.
Well said. It's about being a conscious architect of your own image, using both predictability and unpredictability to shape how others perceive you and ultimately influence their behavior.
And that's it for today's Flagstone Trail discussion. We appreciate your listenership.
Hopefully this deep dive into Law 17 has given you some new tools for your arsenal.
Remember, sometimes the most powerful move is the one no one sees coming. Until next time.